Can I do
Hello.
it? Oh no, they put him on and they didn't turn it blue. Okay, is this Joseph in Indianapolis?
Yes, it is.
Hello, Joseph,
Hi,
you're on the
Joseph.
air.
Okay, hey.
Hey.
Do I sound pretty clear? Is
Yeah, you
everything
sound
good?
Yeah, sound
fine.
great.
Calls are great today.
Cool, awesome. So I'm gonna just jump right into this. I don't want to waste too much time. I am a secular humanist atheist, so I don't have any challenges for you on the existence of God, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But even with that being the case, I still live with my grandparents because living by yourself is really expensive, and I'm trying to not do that just
Hey,
yet.
we don't judge.
So, um, with that being said, because I live with them and because they are extremely devout when it comes to Christianity, I still go to church just to, um, just kind of maintain the peace.
Sure, you're
I
appeasing
don't
them.
want to. I have to live with them, so I don't want
Sure.
to. Yeah, you get where I'm coming
Yeah,
from.
absolutely.
Um, but even with that being the case, going to church is not fun for me.
Okay.
So one thing that I do while I'm there to kind of pass the time is I write down every single argument and
Good.
every single scripture and every citation from the Bible that the pastor cites, and I look for inconsistencies, leaps of logic, things
Mm-hmm.
like that, just to kind of give me something to do.
Yeah.
And last week, it there we had a guest pastor there, but he said something, and the feedback from it was kind of terrifying in a way. But I have the quote here, if I can read it to
Sure,
you.
go
Just
for it.
okay. Um, he says that I believe that college professors actively try to undermine the faith of our believers, and that their religious course, or I'm sorry, that these religious courses are a ticket to hell. Um, I'm this kind of stuff is. I used to be a Pentecostal Christian, so I mean, this
Oh,
isn't
wow.
foreign to
Okay.
me.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the fun line, I know. Um, this stuff isn't foreign to me, but the the feedback that that I saw from that is what scared me, because a lot of the people that were there were like really confident, and they were saying hallelujah and thank you and all that
Amen.
stuff, and it kind of it opened my eyes to really how deep this kind of rhetoric goes, because I know that that one church isn't the only church that supports that kind of content. This has been happening for thousands of years,
Sure.
throughout all kinds of different denominations of Christianity. But nevertheless, because I was in there and because I, was shaken up by that, I kind of feel like this fire was sparked where I really, as a humanist who cares about people and mankind in general, I really, really, really want to do something
Hmm.
to counter that,
Good.
to just kind of dismantle that willful ignorance, because I think that it kind of stagnates intellectual achievements and things like that.
Yes.
But the problem is that what I want to do is tantamount to trying to dismantle Mount Everest with a pickaxe, and I really don't know how to even begin doing this.
Okay.
Like I guess I wanted some guidance from you guys
Okay. You're
as to
identifying as secular humanist, right?
yes.
Okay. And so are you a member of a secular humanist group?
Um, Not directly. I mean, there's some groups on like Facebook that I'm
Okay.
part of, but not like I don't actually go to any.
Okay.
No,
You're in Indianapolis. That's not a small city,
no, not at all.
right? So here's the thing, right? There's de- we all start out as people being dependent, right? Like we're born and we're completely dependent on someone else. And then as we get older, we develop into independent people, right? And so
Hmm.
you're at an age where you're an independent person. Yes, you have interactions with people with dependencies, like you talked about, you're living, with your grandparents and whatnot. But for the most part, you are an independent person. And when we work toward a goal as an independent person, we can be productive. But we can be far more productive when we become interdependent and we work with groups of people that have a common goal. So I think what you'll find is that right now you're saying, I'm sitting here and I see this mountain and I feel like I'm attacking it with this pickaxe, and I, like John Henry, you're going to blow your heart out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take on the mountain alone and win. So what you need to do is connect with other people that are already working on initiatives, right? Because I guarantee you that in a city the size of Indianapolis, there are people that are already have some groups set up. And on the one, there's a couple things you can do with them. Once you get involved with them, you can assess what they are doing already. Like, what are their goals? So, for example, the Atheist Community of Austin, one of our missions is separation of church and state. So we're very supportive of groups like Texas Freedom Network that police the school system to try to make sure that the conservative right agendas don't get into our schools. And we're not as effective necessarily as we could be, because a lot of that did get in. But the point is, there are groups working towards these things. So when you start to find out what's in your area, I would start Googling, like, for your local area, like humanists, free thought, atheist, agnostic, just whatever words of secular or skeptic, right? That's another term. And there are groups that use all these labels, and they're groups that would probably be sympathetic to the cause that you're talking about. If you go into those groups, number one, they may have already initiatives that you identify with and that resonate with you, that you can then participate in and become active in. But if they don't have something like that, you may have, at that point, a group of people that you can mobilize toward this thing. So you can then say, look, I really like your group. I think you're a great group of people. I think I could work with this group. What I'm interested in seeing is a counter anti-intellectualism, right? Like, I'm very disturbed by the anti-intellectualism that I'm seeing in these churches. That's what resonates with me. That's what I would like to confront. And I'd like to see if I can start up maybe a group for that. And here's some ideas for initiatives. Or maybe you could meet with the group and say, does anybody have ideas for things that we can do to counter this? But once you get in there and you start getting with other people, that's when you become even more empowered, because you get other ideas, other brains working toward the same goal, and it's not just you. And suddenly it's 5 or 6 pickaxes, right, working on the mountain.
Right.
And then you call a group that's down the road that has a similar interest, that's for education and science, like, what is the is there CSI, or what's the group? CFI, the Center for Inquiry. You've got these groups.
Secular Student Alliance.
Yeah, Secular Student Alliance. There's all these groups that you can then maybe get to participate, and pretty soon you've got 100 pickaxes working on this thing. And then you've got outreach into other cities and other communities where you can coordinate. But the first step is to get with that group of people that you feel like you can work with, and start thinking about exactly what it is that bugs you. And taking the notes is a great idea. It sounds like this is something that you've been thinking about in a very focused way for a while. So think about what would you like to do and instead of how do I dismantle this, what kind of things could you promote that would counter this, right? Like for example, if I don't like the right-wing agenda that's promoted in the science classrooms to sort of go after evolution, maybe I need to be promoting like a science agenda. Maybe I need to start working with groups that deal in the sciences in my area and start lectures or community awareness raising on the point of like what is evolution, and how science is under attack. Like, get that information, get somebody from Texas Freedom Network to come and talk, at a local group in Indianapolis about what they deal with there and how this, has national impact. I mean, you can do these things, and it's much easier to do them when you have the resource of a group at your disposal as opposed to just yourself.
Right.
Does that help?
Yeah, it really does help, and I don't know how I didn't even think about that.
Well, thanks for calling. I'm glad you called then.
Yeah, no problem. There's still I'm not trying to like make an excuse for why I shouldn't do this or anything like that, because more than likely I'm going to do it. But the reality of the situation is that I can say, both from observation and from experience as a Pentecostal Christian, that I don't even want to limit this to preachers, because the Bible itself kind of reinforces this too. Like, you have 1 Corinthians chapter 1:18 through 21 from Paul, like I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and things like that.
Don't use your mind. That'll just mess you up.
It's really well seated in the theology.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I am going to try, because I do feel obligated to, in a way, as a humanist, to to do what's best for, or to do what I think is best for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the moment you start to gain a voice and you start to raise criticisms about Christianity specifically, it doesn't even matter if you don't attack anybody. Like if you don't say anything bad about anybody and just limit your arguments to the Bible itself, there will be millions of people who just immediately, by virtue of the fact that you are not a Christian, reject everything that you say. They won't even allow themselves to be open uh, to criticisms for what they want to believe. And like I said, I can
Sure.
say this from experience.
No, yeah, no, I wouldn't argue with you because I know exactly what you're talking about. Everything that comes out of your mouth is just Satan.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just want to sin and I want to make the world
You've been
sinners
deceived,
haven.
and what you have to say doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it just kind of like you just ride out the storm and hope that eventually something sticks, or
Well, you can't always change what's in someone else's head. I mean, if this is
right,
about deconverting, but that's kind of why I was recommending what I was recommending. If you're
right,
if you're against intellectualism, then I would say rather than going and fighting head to head with people that are anti-intellectuals, because that's like you say, somebody that's saying they don't trust reason, you already got a road over there with trying to convince them that you're right by using reason. So I would say rather than go and try to have productive conversations with people that reject reason, you do to promote intellectualism, like promote learning, promote critical thinking. That's the way to go. Bolster these things and reach out to people in the community to help encourage the things that are positive that are not aligned, I guess, to the anti-intellectualism. The more we can marginalize these dangerous perspectives of, for example, don't reason. Reason's a dangerous, deadly, poisonous thing. I mean, that's a toxic view in itself. And so when you're trying to combat that, you're not going to make too much headway trying to reason with that person that's promoting that, but you can make some headway in promoting reason and promoting critical thinking and promoting intellectualism outside that community to the point that you marginalize. It's like, fine, then we'll have this little, Westboro Baptist Church can sit there with their 20 members and, pick at the funerals, whatever they're going to do. But they're certainly not going to grow with that doctrine. And so that's kind of what I think we need to do. We may not be able to change what is in most cases when it comes to something like this, but we can certainly change the environment to make sure that this thing doesn't grow. And that's what's important.
okay, that is perfect, Tracie. You were on it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
That I'm definitely gonna take that into consideration and do what I can to make that happen, because I've said this a bunch of times already before, but I really care about mankind and people in general. So I'm gonna do what I can to make sure that we're okay. Even though I'm just one person, I know that my influence is pretty limited in the grand scheme of things.
That's why you get with other people.
And you do what you and you do what you can.
That's why you're right. Mm-hmm. So
you do what you can, and you'll make a difference little by little.
So go do it. Call us again in a year and tell me what you're working on.
All right, we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thanks, Joseph.
All right.
All right.
And Joseph was our last caller, and so we're